next speaker comes all the way from Germany, but he's Japanese, and he'll be talking about architectures. And welcome, Chikahiro-san. Stage is all yours, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Can you see me? Okay. Okay, my topic is about Forza Monolith. First of all, I'm very honored to be here. So this is my first time to visiting Rubikov India, but for the India, it's more than 10 times. So I'm a big fan of you. Thank you for having me, and I hope you enjoy. Just for quick my introduction, I'm Chikahiro. So originally from Japan, and I'm currently living in Germany, Berlin. So this time I flew from Berlin. So quick intro. So this is like my current, I'm working for. This is a company called Laser Plans, and they are happy to support me to be here. They make it easier, so they even pay for me for the business trip. So, and you can see that for the community sponsorship here, I'm pretty grateful for this company as well. So I have a flyer. So this is a German startup. So I have a German flyer. So if you're interested, talk to me. I can give you, and you can test with Google Lens. So, okay. So let's go for the topic. So the monolith was blamed for last decade. Let's say there's a typical complaints like doesn't scale. Its deployment is bottleneck. It's hard to maintain. It's true? Okay, but it's a typical complaint, and this is what people say that. So, microservices is saying as a good solution for that. So, but I would argue about it. Is it true? In the fact, so Monolith, it's not scale. Shopify, they can process 145 billion requests on the day. Is it not enough? Okay. And for the deployment, there's a many big monolith applications, and for instance, Facebook, they publish every 75 minutes. Shopify, 30, 40 times a day for the deployment. Is it not enough? Okay, okay, coming. Then this is a typical diagram of the microservices. This is simple and easy to maintain. So nowadays, people are saying that, microservice health, microservice fatigue, it can be complex. Sorry, it's go too much. Yeah, so sometimes technology has a trend. Two different technology has a cycles, go and back. For instance, fashion. I cannot say I'm the fashionable person. I'm just happy to this orange, so I can't tell well. But if you see in the time scale of decades, then you can clearly to see that it's a trending, it's cycling, go and back. So now come to be our industry. So we are in the 2025, right? 10 years back. Okay, so the building microservice, the book is published from the Sam Newman. This is a significant book for the introducing microservices. And Kubernetes was published in the same year, which is significant infrastructure of the microservices. And then Netflix, they said they moved to the microservices, and they are claiming that this is a great architecture. So, back one more decade. What happened? 2004, that was Rails was published. And 2006, Twitter, I think this is one of major application bootstrapped by Rails. And even further, GitHub was founded by Rails. And they are still doing for the Rails, right? More. 1998, XML RPC was published and which became SOAP later on. This is a significant technology of the service-oriented architecture, SOA. And there's a famous leak document about from Amazon that they move Monolith to be SOA internally. By the way, they decide to publish these services for public. You know the name? Amazon Web Services. That's very interesting, right? So you can see that come and go and where we are. ThoughtWorks. So they have the Martin Follow, and they are very, very good for the macro trend report. They are famous for the tech radar, and they said that in last year, Monolith rise again. So another fact. So Amazon Prime Video, they moved from microservice to be Monolith, and they reduce the cost 90%. The other thing is from the Rails Conf. So they replace 70 Java microservice with one Monolith. Now this is a new trend, like microservice to Monolith. The another things for the thinking about for the macro trend. So AI obviously changing our industry as well. So I still don't believe that AI is not replacing us. So it's helping us, but it's changing our job. This is a nice blog post, by the way, from O'Reilly, who is O'Reilly Media's founder. You know the books, right? So it's a nice post. But the important change is one person can do more than before. And the another aspect for the changing era is AI. It's actually eating a lot of money or taking money. Then now tech industry have less money. That means typically I saw many companies are downsizing for the team. And in the Monolith, so funny thing is Rails is now saying this is a one-person framework. You can do from deployment to the front end, native app in one person. This is a direction, and this is actually architecture of the Monolith. And think about for the architecture, we all have to know there's no silver bullet. Microservices, Monolith, they are the architectures which has own pros and cons. Correct? So if you see for the differences, no silver bullet. For instance, like microservice can have the multiple languages. This is significant selling point. Yes, for sure. But infrastructure, it can be complex. But scaling may be more typical strategy is a scaling out, which is more efficient than scale up of the monoliths. So, they have trade-offs. And for the microservice, the interesting things, this is a book for the writing for again, Sam Nerman, for the building microservices. It's a book. And the second edition, it says that microservices are often not good choice for the startups. Another example, this is from Euroco, the startups who has more services than customers. Think about it. So, is Monolith a problem? No, I don't think so. But what's the problem? Because there's a certain pain of us. So think about this what is a problem? Then there's a very interesting tweet from the GitHub. He's a former GitHub CTO, and they decided to the monolith to the microservice, and then he said he regret about this decision. Instead, he recommended to be more gradual. Monolith, apps, service, and microservices. What does it mean? So that's indicate that there's something from between monolith and the microservice. I think it's probably called as modular monolith. So what's a modular monolith? Again, the author of the microservices, he said that this is, you can deploy as a monolith, but internally they are modularized, they are separated. And this is highly underrated option. So you know Parkwork from Shopify. So you can make a modularity inside of our application. You can see the boundary to be here. I think next decade, it's an era of modular monoliths. This is already mentioned in the, again, I already referred for the ThoughtWorks report. Particularly, modular monolith approach is arising. Now, we know what to do, yeah? Let's go for modular monolith, then everything is solved. This is maybe not. So again, there's no silver bullet. So this is a talk from Irene from Shopify, and because Shopify doing for the modular monolith already, then so she also saying that it doesn't solve everything. Then again, what's the problem? So if you think even for the monolith to be modular monolith, you need high cohesion internally. So you have to be modularity inside here, but in my observation, even I talked a lot of people, and then I realized a lot of projects actually have, instead of high cohesion, got object. If you have a got object, even you can't move for the modular monolith, and I think this is a problem. So what's this? What's a got object? So this is a simply anti-pattern. Single object node does too much. It's a tangling. It is very hard to maintain. The story example say that you changing the user registration logic and it breaks payment. It's tangling, you know. It's scary, right? Then people get scared. Oh, baby, don't touch. Monolith is bad. We need to move. So in the more concrete cause of the example, maybe order model, it has a lot of associations and more than 1,000 of line on the one single model, and probably a lot of database columns, 50, 100, 200. So this is a kind of one of good examples of got object. So come back to the first slide. The monolith was blamed for last decade. Scalability deployment, we saw the fact. But still remains these complaints, and then, you know, this is characteristic of got object. I think people are not talking about real problem. So this is a problem. This is not the problem of the monolith. So, and if you have got object and high cohesion, then let's talk about for the more solutions. But so we need two steps. Understand what is a meta model and also refactoring. The question is, but why it's so common? I saw really many projects almost everywhere. Why it's so common to have the got object? To understand why, then I think we need to understand what is a dry. I think everybody knows dry, right? So dry was introduced from this book, The Programmatic Programmer, Andrew Funt and Dave Thomas. And if you see that for the statement, every piece of knowledge must have a single unambiguous, can't pronounce well, authoritative representation within a system. The point is here. It's about knowledge, not for the code. I was lucky because in the last Euroco, I saw Dave Thomas, and I had a chat with him, and even we little bit talk about dry, and actually he regret about it because he saw people misunderstand about what dry, and he believes he did a poor job. And I think this is connected with got object. Go further, example, understanding dry. So we have, okay, that's 3 objects, simple. Customer, invoice, receipt. And then we have the code here. So you can see that it's an issue method and there's duplicated code. Okay, let's try. Now, use STI, we introduced document model, and then so logic was moved to the document. Then now, very simple, try. But now, the business told us receipt should be issued after invoice was paid. Makes sense, right? Okay, let's implement. Then, so we introduce now little bit more complex receipt override for the issue method, invoice has a paid. Next requirement, invoice can only be issued for company, not for customer. Then, now we go to company was introduced and they have different validations. Invoice and receipt, they have different validations. Next one, after issuing invoice, it should generate PDF. Okay, let's introduce PDF. Now gets more complicated, so invoice even has a more like issue method are like overrided. So then new PDF was generated, but it's actually depending on the document because again, this is a STI. If you see here for the document, doesn't look like got object. So come back to the first implementation. What's wrong? Where does it come from? Invoice and receipt are different. You know, this is a knowledge. Because they are different paper, they are different time to the issue. This code duplication is similarity. Might be coincident. So this is a try. And if you keep as it is, and then so this is the same requirement implemented in the same way, so you keep it introducing for the STI, then it's simple. Dependencies are clear. Invoice has the dependencies, and probably at the most you can try with for the drive for the code. It's maybe issuable for the concerns, but must be careful. Again, as a domain-wise, they are different. They might have different type of behavior. I emailed to the Dave Thomas after this presentation to, hey, we deferred for this chat, and then he surprisingly replied me in the same day, and he even said that this is one of the best discussion of Dry. So I was so happy to get a reply from him, but also happy, but because I'm properly understand so what is a Dry. And even bit more, so DDD also can help in this sense. So I don't go for detail much here. So also I'm not so expert, I would say. But so DDD, like how you see the domains, it's helpful. And this is a nice article as well, which explains same things. So just for the note for you. Now, okay, we have refactoring to be got object. So for refactoring got object, it's hard. It typically accumulated a lot of tech debt. I would also, in reality, in the business, so maybe you cannot do the refactoring, you cannot say to the refactoring for 6 months, right? Maybe this sounds not good. So I would recommend for the clear business merit. Then, okay, for instance, very complex order model. It has a lot of status, and it contains a lot of issues. Process, payment, fulfillment. So they cannot fulfill a lot of business requirement. Maybe, so in the end, so you can do a lot of for the finding another models. But for here, don't go for the big quantities because it's gonna be dangerous. Instead, slice it. In this sense, here we have the big order model, so maybe can be multiplied for the 1 by 1. So with business merit. You, and this can be more easier to achieve the goal. And this is a pain by the business. So for here for the refactoring, even so for releasing, it's gonna be hard. You may not cannot have the downtime. So there's a nice pattern from Strong Graphic, and Shopify does a good example for this. Then this is something you can see how to release that. Recap. It's a Monolith problem? No, I don't think so. I see there's a tendency that blaming the technology. Rails is not good. Monolith is not good. COBOL is bad. Really. So what I see, the problem is often got object. This is an issue of modeling. To fix it, having the good modeling with dry and DDD, and refactoring with incremental release. And this is something for the patterns. I just put it here, so you can use. We don't have to cover to here, so to safely release. Thank you so much. I hope you are enjoying. Sorry, one more thing.